Hello, adventurer. It's good to see you. You have made it to the morning grind.
Welcome, welcome.
It's the live stream at the beginning of the Geekverse, where we talk about all types of topics in geekdom, gaming, and fantasy, with an emphasis on being constructive and creating the things that we want to exist in the world.
It's all on the grind, Sizemore. Can't be too fine, can't be too coarse.
That's exactly right. There are a lot of adventures to be had today. Dungeons to explore and monsters to slay, and who knows what a random encounter might send our way. That's why we have to prepare, so settle in now for the morning grind with your favorite beverage in hand.
Tea? Or maybe something a little stronger. I've got a few bottles of the old Wynyard left.
Whatever you want. Pull up a chair.
Dude.
If you're feeling fancy, how about a cappuccino? Or a frappuccino? Or how about an espresso?
Just tea, thank you.
Sounds good to me, Gandalf. Whatever you want. I'm just glad you're here.
Everyone is welcome. You can just watch if you want. You don't have to worship anything you don't want to worship.
Thank you, Mike. But be forewarned.
Sometimes we get really strange characters around here.
Wait, what's that you say? Why can't you come and be a part of the stream?
My wife would disown me.
Oh no, I bet she'll be fine with it. Come on in.
Am I scared for my safety? No.
What are we supposed to do?
Everybody do the secret handshake.
Secret cultist handshake.
Oh, now do wizards who love each other.
This, my friend, is a science.
I still don't have gifts, but it's fine.
It's all on the grind, son. Can't be too fine, can't be too coarse.
Dude, this would be a sick place to bring the band.
Indeed it would be, Dave. It really would. I'm seeing more people coming in. Welcome. Glad to have you here. Oh, look, here's someone new.
Is this the cultist meetup?
Yes it is.
Come to hang out? Please accept me. I have nothing else.
Okay, we accept you. Everyone's welcome here.
Brought some snacks.
Well, that makes things even better.
You want some coffee?
I don't drink coffee.
You sure? It's cultist coffee.
What makes it cultist coffee?
I'm a cultist and I'm drinking it.
Oh. Then I'll have some.
What exactly is going on here?
I'm seeing more people coming in. Welcome, welcome. It's so great to have you. Oh, and look, here comes another stranger.
Can we help you?
Yes, fellow cultists. I could really use some food.
Oh yeah? Welcome. We have donuts.
Oh, it's me. I'm glad I'm here. I'm sure you have a few questions for me, though.
What's your name? Who do you work for? What god do you worship?
Great questions, Rob.
I'm Steve King, and I worship Nyarlathotep.
No, not really. I'm just Heath, and I won't be worshiping anything this morning. But I will be your host. Welcome to the office. We're going to have a great time. I've got my coffee ready, because now it's time for the morning grind.
If you could become a fish, that would be amazing. Then I could command you with my mental fish powers.
Here I am. Good morning. Good morning. Good to see you. Glad to be here again. The days when I miss a morning grind, I hate it. I hate it. I absolutely hate it because the intention is to be here every morning. Although, actually, come to think of it, talking about missing a morning grind, I already know that I won't be here on Saturday. Saturday, there will be no morning grind. That's one known in advance. I should post that someplace. We won't have a morning grind on Saturday because, unfortunately, I have got a funeral I have to go to, so I have to be up in the city earlier. So there will be no morning grind on Saturday. But at least we know that one in advance. Sometimes things like that happen. But man, when I miss one because of like tech problems or something like that, I really hate it. I don't know that it's solved. Sable Phoenix says, glad to know the technical problems seem to have been overcome. They seem to have been overcome. I had to reinstall an operating system again yesterday. I don't understand. I don't really know that I've solved problems other than everything is working. I wish I actually had confirmation. You actually knew what the problem was, but I can't. Oh, hey, Stargate Mind. Good morning, Stargate Mind and Zero the Blade and James Bacon. We've got Andrew here. Okay, Andrew is here. Ghostly Karma. Boop Donuts, good morning. Good morning. Good to see you. Welcome to the morning grind. Zero Theory says morning. Yeah, I'm sorry. I know I hate two missed in a week. That's not good, but it's other things going on Saturday. Okay, so today we were actually going back to Nave, and that was a very popular, it seemed like, show 2 days ago. But I reached out to Ben after we did the morning grind on Monday, and I asked him if I told him that we had a lot of different questions about Knave, that we tried to make a character. Somebody in the comments on the Kickstarter page was like, boy, the way that they rolled the attributes really got you, and it absolutely did. That was funny. I didn't understand that at all, but we got that sorted out. But Ben said that in that same comment thread on the Kickstarter that, yeah, a lot of people have actually been confused about that stat generation. And so he said that, yes, apparently I do need to revise the phraseology of that. So he's aware of that problem. So hopefully that will happen. And I mean, it would be great if he would watch last time show and this show. I know that it seems like several people who are creating RPGs, when they either are on the stream with us or watch later, when I'm going in completely cold to reading one, it can be interesting to see. I mean, how often do you actually get to see somebody completely cold reading your RPG? Do they get it? Do they, what order do they go in? I've been told that was really interesting to see somebody read my RPG for the very first time. So, so that might be a cool thing to have seen, and maybe make some adjustments before everything actually goes to print. Zero Theory says once it's understood, I can appreciate the uniqueness of it. But yeah, better description is in order. Yeah, me too. I agree with that. So I reached out to him, and I told him about that, and he agreed to send me. It says early draft, but the draft of the game that was sent to all of the other YouTubers, or not all the other YouTubers, but some of the other YouTubers, to put out their advanced reviews of Knave. And so I got that last night. So I was like, oh, well, okay, let's take a look at this and see if we can answer some of the questions that we have, because some of the stuff was missing. Like, we felt like there were some rules. We couldn't really create our characters. Oh, speaking of which, where is my character? It should be over here in this stack of papers, I hope. But we didn't even, oh, here it is. Yeah. So we weren't quite able to create an entire character over here, because we didn't have things like weapons and armor. And we had some other questions as well. So I just want to know if this full draft that other people got might answer the questions that we've got. So that's what we're going to be doing today. By the way, so I did post elsewhere, just in case you are interested, just as something else I'm doing kind of casually over here. Sometimes I want to talk about something that is a bit more, shall we say, substantial than the gaming side of things, because my original idea was that, well, if I wake up in the morning and I get work done, then I can play here for the morning grind, and I'm still way out of whack on that. But nonetheless, sometimes I want to talk about something else that is different. And so I just started this YouTube channel, just kind of a secondary channel, because I do like to keep on top of things that are going on in science and technology and space, and particularly AI. I've been following that for quite some time. And of course, it really seems like a lot of that has, there's been a lot of stuff that's gotten underway on that side of things in the past few months. And so I had an idea that, hey, when I'm reading some of these news articles and things like this, I could turn on a camera. So if you want to have a discussion on topics in sci-fi, technology, and particularly AI and its influence on society, Keith's Technoverse is there. And I don't know how that's going to end up. But there we go. I'll send out that link. No, I did not interview. No, this is no interviews. No, there's no interviews here. He wrote an article with Eric Schmidt. And so I go over his article with Eric Schmidt. That actually in detail. I only thought I would be like talking for about 12 minutes or something like that, because I was reading his article. But I had a lot to say about that article, and it went on for 50 minutes. So there we go. Let's see. So if you want to check that out, I've got a couple other topics. That's what's going on over there. And then also yesterday, after I got my operating system reinstalled, I did, I believe, finish the Goodnight Sword Kickstarter page. So here it is. And I'm going to look at it one more time this afternoon because I want to make sure that it is finished. And then I think we'll probably launch next week. Because I think I'm going to take one more week to try to do some promotion, specifically on some other YouTube channels. But let's see. I'm going to send out this preview to everybody. But here is the Kickstarter page. So we'll probably launch next week. So let's see. I'm going to do it short. Might do a little bit longer than 14 days. Might do it like 17 or something like that, but not going to be terribly long. I'm trying to make this as low drama a Kickstarter as I possibly can. So I've got the pledge levels for the digital edition right here, the digital edition plus the hardback book over here, and then the digital edition plus the signed hardback book over here. So I've got also have the animated audiobook embedded over here. Physical proof review, we did that on the morning grind, so the physical proof is ready. I said, will the hardback physical book be available after the campaign if I want to get it later? I'm saying no. The campaign is set up to print on demand POD format, so the quantity of books produced will match the number needed. I'm not trying to do a whole bunch of warehousing here. I'm not trying to do an offset printing and then warehouse these books for an extended period of time. We're trying to do, my theory now is, or my strategy now is to do more smaller, no drama Kickstarter campaigns. So doing print on demand here, I will not be producing additional books to stock after the campaign. So if you'd like a hard copy, be on the Kickstarter. I'm going to charge shipping on this Kickstarter because the books are ready to go to printing. I will not, there will not be a long delay between the end of the campaign and fulfillment. Having to set up a third-party system to collect shipping at a later time will only slow down fulfillment of the rewards because we're ready to go. So instead of rather setting up a pledge manager, setting up an all-new system, I wish Kickstarter had a better back end. I really wish that. And in fact, in the future, in the not too distant future, I may consider going over to Indiegogo. What do you guys think about that? Do you guys use Indiegogo or are willing to back things on Indiegogo? Because its back end is far superior to Kickstarter. A lot of games, though, go on Kickstarter, and people are expecting it to games to be on Kickstarter. But on the other hand, the back end, as far as understanding what people are backing for and what they want without having to go through a separate pledge manager or getting people back to go through a survey or something like that, Indiegogo is so much easier. I wish Kickstarter had that same back end, but I guess they just don't feel like they really need to. So I'm going to put shipping on this campaign. So it'll make it a little bit higher up front, but that way shipping will be paid, and then I can know exactly how many books to get. I'm going to order the books and then have them shipped right to you. Not a tremendous delay. Will there be a pledge manager? No, because this is a relatively simple campaign. There will not be a pledge manager. All the information needed to fulfill pledges will be collected here on Kickstarter. Same thing. Will there be late pledges? No, because I'm not using a pledge manager. There'll be no opportunity to accept late pledges. So if you're interested in the book, you need to place it here on Kickstarter. I'm not going to do stretch goals either because the book is finished. It's ready to go. I don't want to complicate the campaign or potentially extend the campaign by trying to do stretch goals. And I'll redo the book and relay it out, or I'll try to do a new book or something like that. This is just about this book. And then the physical copies on this one, because it's print on demand, are only shipping to the United States and the United Kingdom. If you're elsewhere in the world, I'm sorry. We will try in future campaigns to do more, but at the moment, the print on demand company can only ship to the United States and United Kingdom. So it's going to ship right from them to you if you're there. If trying to ship multiple times, man, to get to other countries, I really like to be able to bring on Canada, but it would be too expensive. The shipping would be very expensive to ship 2 or 3 times to get up into another country right now. Section on the author and illustrator, and that's basically it. So like I said, this is going to be quick. It's going to be easy. It's going to be fast. It's going to be low drama, and I'm going to get everybody their books who would like it. And probably start next week. I've got some advertising I need to do, and come to think of it, I'm thinking about doing a little bit of advertising through. Oh, well, can I just search for it over here? I started an Instagram for the Tales of Rabavania. So I'll put that right here. Rabavania Instagram. If you like to follow the Tales of Rabavania on Instagram, I'm going to put out some information. I'm going to put out a couple of things about the Kickstarter and try to promote that on Instagram over here for the next few days. So that just kind of got started too over here, but that's there. Let's see here. Sable Phoenix says, one thing I noted about the previous second edition Morning Grind was that you were talking about how there need to be weapons and armor lists. Nobody seemed to catch that those lists were on page XX, meaning they weren't written yet. Well, no, I noticed that it said page XX, but I didn't necessarily think that meant it wasn't written yet. Before I've got the book in final layout, I do that myself a lot. That I'll put like page XXX or YYY or ZZZ in page number references like that as I'm writing, because I'm not necessarily writing in the final laid out format. So the section can be written, but I can still have no idea what page it's going to be on when the book is laid out. So I didn't necessarily assume that meant that it wasn't written yet. I just assumed that he did not know what page number that would actually be in the final layout. So it was something to be added in. Falcon Forge Fantasy, welcome, welcome, welcome. Yeah, I do. I follow him. I follow him quite a bit. Height is a remarkable thinker, Bacon says. I follow him quite a bit. That's why I was interested to see what he had to say on the subject on social media and AI, and why I decided to turn on the camera to discuss it. Sable Phoenix says, I'm not a fan of Kickstarter, but they are a household name, unfortunately. They are, and that people expect. Now, this is not a tabletop game. This is the children's book, but people expect games to be on Kickstarter. You put a game on Indiegogo and people are going to think there's something wrong with it. Andrew says, I might have backed 2 Indiegogos versus hundreds of Kickstarters. I've backed off of Kickstarter as well as too many times getting burned. Yeah, Kickstarter is definitely the name in crowdfunding. Okay, so particularly in tabletop gaming. Okay, so the Technoverse. Oh, Table Talk tonight. We talked about Goodnight Sword. Table Talk tonight. Doug and I are going to be on Table Talk tonight. I got to get all that ready to go. But we're going to be talking about Star Trek 1, the motion picture. So Star Trek 1, the motion picture tonight at 7 or 7:30. I'm not sure which. But I'll put it up. Maybe we can start at 7. So 7 o'clock, we'll be talking about Star Trek, the motion picture. I think that is an underappreciated movie, especially in light of what we're talking about now with AI and stuff like that in our society. So we are going to be talking about Star Trek 1. Doug and I may make it a series when Brianna's not around to go through the original series Star Trek movies. So we're going to be talking about Star Trek 1 and what it means tonight on Table Talk. Yes. So yay, Doug, Sable says. Yes. All right. Let me go over here and let's bring up the main topic over here. Let me find the right window. All right. I'm a Star Trek fan too, James. Especially of the original series and the Next Generation. Those are basically my series. All right. So here is, okay, so this is different than what we had last time. This is one that was just distributed for previews and reviews and things like that. So I'm not going to go, we're going to go through, we will just go through it here. I don't even know how long it is. It always says page 1 of 43. And I think these are the spreads here. So it's not all that long. And I'm sure there's a lot of material that we've already seen. But we're going to see if we can answer some questions that we had last time about the game. So here we go. So this is the Nave 2nd edition. And it said, and this does still say early draft with black and white art. So early draft with black and white. notes. Black and white art. Yeah, so we do also have some notes up here. We'll see. And I hope there's actually some notes of his, because we said we're supposed to have designer notes. So I don't remember recalling. I don't think we had any designer notes last time. But maybe there are some in here that can give us at the end of this book. Oh, at the end of this book, actually, right here, I've added a designer's commentary section explaining why I wrote the rules the way I did. I hope you find it useful when creating your own. So maybe that's there, maybe it's not there yet. We do have game master duties, but interestingly, we also have player duties over here. What are the players supposed to do? So the game master is supposed to create locations to explore. A good location is seeded with traps, treasures, traps, friends, foes, monsters, devices, secrets, problems without obvious solutions, and powder keg situations ready to explode. Avoid linear environments and produce multiple routes to most areas. Fleshing out the supporting cast. Let the players guide the actions. Never plan out a plot for the players to experience. Players are unpredictable, and a session's outcome should be a surprise to everyone, it says. Keep the game moving. Point to players and ask, what are you doing? X, Y, Z, or something else? If necessary, appoint a caller to summarize the player's actions if they spend too much time debating. Use common sense. Most actions taken by the PCs should simply succeed or fail. Avoid making them roll for everything. Make impartial and consistent rulings. Players should be playing against the world, not against you. Roll your dice out in the open. Oh, roll your dice out in the open and don't fudge results. Immerse the players. Pull the players into the world by making it a living, reactive, internally consistent place. Use random tables and generators to keep things fresh and surprising. And a lot of people were talking about how excited they were because this game has so many different random tables in it last time. Reveal the world. Give the players plenty of information about what's happening around them. When in doubt, give them more. Without information, players cannot make choices. Signpost dangers. The more dangerous the thing is, the more obvious it should be. Don't penalize players for things they could not have avoided. Reward smart plans. When players figure out clever ways to bypass or eliminate obstacles, don't try to stop them. In fact, consider making such plans automatically succeed. Creative problem solving is a core skill of the game. Parties that are good at it should prosper. Keep timekeeping records. Time is a resource for players, and wasting it should have consequences. Here's time again. Now, this is the Gygaxian thing. Sable Phoenix will talk about that. But also, yeah, time is underused, I continue to say. So time is a resource for players, and wasting it should have consequences. Make a calendar and track the days. What are other NPCs and factions up to while the players are adventuring? What threats are advancing? The rules are your servant, not your master. If a rule isn't working well the way your group likes, talk about it with them, and adjust. Okay, so what are players supposed to do? So it's nice to have this in here. Assist the game master. Show up on time, bring snacks, learn the rules, keep session notes, draw maps. Be ready for your turn. That's a big one. Be ready for your turn. And communicate your long-term plans so the GM can have things prepared for the next session. I always tried to be ready for my turn when it came up, like in D&D. But that also meant that I was one of the ones who was playing the game the least. Because it was not on my turn. It was on my turn for the shortest amount of time. Because if you didn't really know what you're doing, or had something complex and you had to figure something out, the game would stop on that person's turn for quite a while. But I tried to be ready so that I could execute. You know, when I was editing the Dinner and a Board Game episodes, which, by the way, we also have Dinner and a Board Game Friday night. Friday night, we will still have Dinner and a Board Game. We'll be doing Hero Quest, the Barbarian Frozen Horror Quest 3. I need to prepare for that. But I was conscious of that, especially as I was editing and I was going around the table. There's a certain players whose turn it always is on for a longer amount of time. It comes to this player, and it's this player. Like a large percentage of the episode would often be a single player's turn. And it was often very predictable round to round how long a player's turn was going to take. So yeah, be ready for your turn and communicate your long-term plans so the GM can have things prepared for the next session. We used to do that quite a bit. If you have long-term plans for your character, things that you want, go ahead and communicate those to the GMs. They can build that in. There it is. You cannot have a meaningful campaign if accurate records are not kept. James says, I'm glad he added the phrase internally consistent. That's very important and doesn't ever get the attention that it needs. And I think that was one of the reasons that when we were going through the first Knave, when we were talking about, hey, I'm missing some stuff here, which I still feel like I was. It seemed like the obvious things that people would want to discuss or want to have at their fingertips, that yes, you can make a call on that, but then you'd want to make sure you write that down, what that call was, like the number of slots that a horse carries, to make sure that it's internally consistent. And I think that's, to me, that was the kind of things that the game master, or the rule book rather, should go ahead and have in order to maintain kinds of things like the internal consistency. Oh, I see lots of people talking about Star Trek. I'm going to skip. That's no problem to talk about the Star Trek in the comments. I'm going to skip those comments, though, right now, because we'll talk about that a lot tonight. The whole warning signs of danger is pointless when you have that player who wants to, you only live once, everything. Yeah, but I guess to me, I think what we were saying here is, or what we could be saying in that as well, is if they don't have them accidentally fall into the dragon's lair. That if they're going in to fight the dragon, they should know that's dangerous and know it's there, not just accidentally end up inadvertently in a dragon's lair. Internal consistency is a very plot over story kind of thing, depending on how you prioritize it. Bringing up the ideas we talk about on Table Talk. Create a character. Work with the group to make sure PCs mesh within the campaign setting and tone. Give your PCs distinctive features to make them memorable, but don't worry about coming up with an elaborate backstory. The game is about what happens in play, not what came before it. Note that in some games you can create a stable. Of multiple PCs that you switch between them. Well, here's the word stable right here. That's been used in our comment sections right here. The game is about what happens in play, not what came before it. Your backstory doesn't make you cool. What you do during the game and what you do when you're on camera matters. So a possible idea here is that you could have multiple characters. Play your character. You describe your actions in the first or third person. You can put on a voice or not. It's up to you. Cooperate with other players and avoid creating inter-party conflicts unless the other players agree to it. Yeah, I agree with that. I don't like to create characters that are going to create party conflict. Don't do that intentionally. Avoid creating inter-party conflict, especially like characters who are going to be at odds with each other. Take initiative, set your own goals, and make your own fun. Seek out adventure rather than waiting for it to come to you. Passive PCs can stall the game. Ask questions. Information is the bloodline of the game, so get as much as possible from the GM. In addition, search rooms, learn languages, interrogate prisoners, consult sages, etc. Apply tactical infinity. Treat the game world as if it were real and turn every aspect of it to your advantage. No detail is simply flavor. Anything within reason can be attempted. I've never heard that phrase before. Apply tactical infinity. Scheme. Avoid risky plans that require you to roll dice. Avoid risky plans that require you to roll dice. Instead, create plans so bulletproof that success is certain. Use psychology, magic, allies, equipment, and the environment to overcome obstacles rather than just your PC's ability scores. I haven't said that exactly like that before, but when we've been looking at different games and such, and I was talking about reducing randomness, I guess I kind of agree with that. How do you want the players to be successful in the game? You want the players to be successful in the game, in my opinion, because of the good choices that they've made. They make this option, they make this choice, that choice, take this option, that option, whatever. And because of those choices that they made, they were either successful or not successful. I don't want them to be successful or not successful just in large part, I'm not talking about always, I'm just talking about in large part because they happen to roll dice well, right? So, and especially, I don't like it, and we talked about this when we've been talking about game design, I know as well, that I also don't want it to be the case that if you do everything right, if you actually set everything right up as far as the game or the action that you're going to take, I don't want you to fail because you, I don't want you to fail because you rolled poorly. I've had that happen, like when I was designing the own board games. And that's something that I would want to take out of board game design. If you do everything right and you make all of the right decisions, should you lose the game because of bad dice rolling? Arguably, no. And that's a different style of play if you say yes, but arguably, no. And I think this is basically what's being said right here. Because he also provides large bonuses, +5 chunks, when you've got some type of advantage or something like that. So that may be the same kind of philosophy right there. Think ahead. Remember that your actions can have long-term consequences, and NPCs will remember what you've done. Rash or impulsive actions can come back to haunt you. Fight dirty. Try to win fights before they begin by rigging things in your favor. Avoid conflicts when you don't have the upper hand. Combat in Knave is neither balanced nor fair, so assume that your character's life is at stake every time swords are drawn. I like that. Prepare to die. Embrace your PC's death when it happens and roll up a new character to take their place. Losing a PC can be painful, but it makes for great stories. Lets you try out new characters and can thrust the party into unexpected situations. Ultimately, the game is about the adventures of the whole party, not just one character. I like that too. So I like that he's got not just the game master side of things, but actually what is the player supposed to do as well. So I do like that section. You don't often see that. Oh, is there lots of stuff going over here? Zero Theory says, I will never forget that elven paladin I dealt with that would run straight head straight first into the dragon's den. James says, I agree. YOLO players are manageable so long as you warn them of consequences and give them an opportunity to back out or change course. Because if that's how they have to have fun, you want to allow it. But it should ruin the game for other players, or should not ruin the game for other characters or break internal consistency. And those kinds of characters or players are also probably counting on, well, maybe I can roll very well. I'm going to go in there and I'm going to fight the dragon because maybe I can just roll well enough to take the dragon out. And why not go ahead and try to roll for it? But this over here, when it's talking about, scheme, instead try to come up with bulletproof plans. This kind of game probably, and the idea that I'm liking here is kind of trying to discourage that you're not just going to run in there and happen to roll well enough to kill the dragon. Zero Theory says, I've never been a fan of the rogue that sneaks ahead, discovers treasure, then pockets some of it while the table is in character supposed to pretend they don't know, but out of character it rubs them the wrong way. Yeah. Sable Phoenix says that scheme point touches on a really great discussion I saw once about combat as sport versus combat versus war. 5e treats combat as sport, a fair and balanced competition of equals that is self-contained. 4e was the ultimate expression of that. I would be interested in knowing more about that. I can see the distinction that's being tried to be drawn here. Whereas second edition and earlier in the OSR treats combat as war, where you ideally never have a fair fight, but you always stack the deck in a way that if you can't run, you run until you can come back and do so later. So this is combat as war. James says, I prefer combat as war, but I respect the drama in combat as sport. Well, you could have both. In some ways, you could have both. I'm thinking in Rabavania, where you've got war is war, combat is war, but then also you do have combat as sport deliberately engineered into the society. It's something like tournaments. So if you want to fight, a jousting or melee teams or something like that. Hey, PH, good to see you. Buy all the land around the dragon's lair. No, good morning, Joseph. Good morning. Oh, okay. Well, Sable Phoenix says when people complain about balance, it means they're treating combat as sport. Combat as war is meant as unbalanced as possible. Well, that's the difference between the tournament and, yeah, that war and the tournament. Okay, so let's go. Let's just keep going. Okay, so some of this, like I said, we've already been through. So we went through ability scores. It doesn't look like the phraseology here has changed, because I bet it seems like it could be the case that the preview is an extraction of this document. So we've got ability scores and PC creation. I was thinking about this in the last couple of days since we've been here. Careers and starting equipment. I'm still kind of wondering how I feel about this, because it's some of this with what the original Nave was, is I had some issues with it, but I really liked the direction that it was going. It seems like rather than doing Nave 2nd edition, I would have liked to have seen like Nave expanded, Nave expanded or Nave remastered, right? Is that the word that passed by? Some kind of expansion of the original Nave into a full document rather than another edition. And so it would be interesting to know what the thought process was behind that. Because with all of these different careers and starting equipment, to me, this kind of gets away from the idea that you're starting off as a Knave, because you're supposed to be running a Knave. Have we actually had that written here yet in this, that you're supposed to be playing a Knave character? We know we're classless, but for instance, yesterday I rolled a Knight, which doesn't really sound like the Knave-like adventurer. I think I would have... I don't know that I would have gone this route, because how am I supposed to be... I'm supposed to be a Knight Miner. I mean, that's pretty weird. And doesn't that kind of go against the idea of being a Knave? Now, you could... I think it would have been... I don't know. What are these other things? Acolyte, Acrobat, Actor, Alchemist, Antiquarian, Arcanist, Architect? Painter, Peddler, Philosopher, Rat Catcher. Does this kind of go against the idea about your being a classless rogue? I don't know. But it also gives us the items that you've got, but not a lot of information on how to actually store them. So items. So I thought that in the first Knave, the item slots were kind of wonky. And it seemed that way this way too. Like, let's see, when we generated the character yesterday, arguably I was holding 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Possibly 12 slots worth of items, but I only had 10 item slots. So I couldn't even carry all of that stuff with me anyway. And why would I? It's like I had a pickaxe, a lantern, and a pet canary. And a banner, a giant banner, which we said was 2 slots and could be even more slots, but we said 2. So some things that were like, okay, I don't need these things anyway, because also, I forget who it was in the comments yesterday. It wasn't yesterday, it was 2 days ago, but made such a great point that not only do you have to have enough slots to get out to your adventuring location, but you've got to have enough slots to get coins back. No, I might even have 13 slots because I forgot coins. Coins also have one. I had 100 coins and 500 coins make up a slot. So, I mean, slots are at an extreme premium here. I'm a huge fan of slot-based inventory and encumbrance. But, man, this game is tight on these slots. And it doesn't really seem like 2nd edition Knave has really fixed that. Because not only do you have to have enough equipment to get out, and 1 day of rations is 1 slot. Well, that means that if you carry nothing but rations, you can go out for 10 days. But that means that you can only really go out for 5 days, because you've got to come back for 5 days. Because you only get your experience for the money, for the coins you get back to safety. So you also have to have slots available to get back. So, and I also have no weapons and no armor. We're going to see about weapons and armor. But that's why, like, the slots. So in that case, let's say that we want that. We say we want that to be a feature of this game, We want the slots to be at an extreme premium, like as they appear to be here. Then that means that most PCs are going to have a lot of horses, draft animals, mules, donkeys, things like that are going with them. I mean, an adventuring expedition is going to be a caravan. Now, that's not necessarily bad. I don't think that's necessarily bad at all. It's like you're not going to be able to carry all this stuff. So when you go out adventuring, you're going to have ponies and everything else. On the surface of that, I am completely fine with that. But that means that I really need to know how many slots ponies and donkeys have, how much they cost. I rolled 100 coins. And there was no rolling for extra money in Nave 1. I added that in myself because I wanted the players to have just a little bit of coin. So there was some coin generation here. But can I then go and buy a mule? Because I got to take more food with me, and I need to be able to get treasure back home. So talking, I want all of those rules. And I would put in, like in that case, like a sample loadout. What an adventuring expedition is like. Yeah, Joseph Carter says you were a knight. Why aren't I anymore? Well, that's true. Good morning, Stray. Good morning. Well, we're still kind of getting into it here. Yeah. Oh, the nose plays. Hey, the nose plays. We talked about you, actually, when we were looking at the original Knave. The nose play says, I think the classes are kind of like your past. So maybe you were a knight that became a knave. Maybe I was disgraced, dishonored, something like that. Play into it. You're not a knight anymore because you're some type of disgrace. Your lord exiled you and you were forced to mine since it was low skill. Yeah, so maybe failed trades that didn't work. Details later, but not deep backstory. Hey, Nathan. Good morning, Nathan. Good to see you. Citizen Snip says potentially 6 items from background, 4 items that anyone could take. Always fill your inventory. But we still got to take armor and weapons here. Sable Phoenix says, Knave keeps the slot super restricted because it wants you to force to play in the first edition manner with multiple hirelings, many of whom were only with you to haul your treasure while you handle the dangerous stuff. That's fine as long as we've got rules for them. See, that's fine. Like hirings, the entire adventuring expedition, I'm fine with that. But then I want to make sure that we have rules for them, especially when we're talking about how important internal consistency is. I don't want to have to make all of that up. Like if that's actually supposed to be a core part of the game, then I don't want to have to make a rule for all of that at the gaming table. Right. And we were having to make rules for that with Knave 1, like if that was it. So that's fine. That's absolutely fine. But then let's make sure that this system, the rule book actually has all of those rules to keep things consistent, especially if they're supposed to be in such an integral part of the game. Zero Theory says, I guess you want to be using up your resources so you make room for the loot. Yeah, and those resources that you're using up are probably going to be your food. Well, and torches. And we weren't exactly even sure, as I recall, how many slots a torch took up. I made the call yesterday. I believe that 2 torches were 1 slot, but we will see. So Joseph says, even in Shadow Dark, I tend to give people a couple of extra slots in the default formula. Mule is 30C. All right, so I could afford a mule. Yeah, but see, we need that. Nope. Arthur caught you entertaining his wife. Yeah, that may have been exactly what happened. Let's see. Scrolling down here. Yeah, Citizen Snip says, I'd say like 5 rations to a slot or something like that. All right, so let's keep going. So wounds. This, I don't think this has changed because we had problems with healing. We had this word injury down here. Yeah, 1 injury. So this looks like the same kind of page we were looking at. And actually, this is one of the things also that I think is the most inelegant thing that I've seen so far in Knave, 2nd edition. I was thinking about this yesterday because we've got this idea that we've got HP, which is going to be D6 HP. But once our HP reaches 0, each point of damage fills an item slot with an appropriate, now see here it says wound, but it might mean injury. But there's going to be your slots are being filled by being stabbed, frozen, burned, etc. from the highest slot to the lowest, meaning there is an order to your inventory slots. Like we must be stacking up the way that we are doing our inventory. And you have to be cognizant of that because you're going to be losing slots from the highest slot to the lowest. And items in the wounded slot must be dropped or the PC will be immobilized. So our slots are also our hit points. And we're going to be losing a bunch of equipment as we go. And I don't know how that's going to work. Specifically, as it relates to direct damage. We also have direct damage, and direct damage is equal to our Constitution, 10 plus our Constitution. You can take 10 plus Constitution before you die. So direct damage bypasses HP and adds wounds directly. This occurs in situations where a creature's combat skill would not normally protect them when falling or attacked unawares. See, it seems weird to have this wounds and then also using your slots as hit points. I was thinking that we actually, if that's what you're concerned about, and not that that's a completely valid thing, you're like, now wait a minute. What if we had some type of inflationary kind of hit point system, which we do have, get more hit points as we level here, but it's also not something that gets completely crazy and out of control. You're not constantly just adding more and more dice. We went over the methodology for adding more hit points to your character later. So we've gotten a bit better at having inflationary hit points, but not getting them out of control. But on the other hand, even if you want there to be more hit points, because you're trying to use that as a way for characters to represent being more skilled in combat and not taking damage and things like that, but you also want, hey, what happens when they are attacked in some way that their combat skill would not protect them? Monsters, when they are falling or attacked unaware, that's the wounds vitality system. It seems like that's what we're talking about here. Now, wounds vitality, that was in Star Wars. The WotC Star Wars game, where you've got a certain amount of so that wounds that actually represent physical injury to your character, and you really don't get more of those. You might not get more of those, or just a few more. But that's based on like how much actual physical injury can your body sustain, and that really doesn't change as you level up. And of course, this is also in the 3rd edition Unearthed Arcana. This was around at the time of 3rd edition. So you've got this wounds, but then you have what in this particular system is called vitality, which is some other way that you're avoiding damage that is not actually taking physical damage. So why not use something like that in this? So you can always say that, when you are prepared and you are defending yourself and whatever, then damage comes off your vitality first and then goes down to your wounds. But if you're stabbed in the back, if you're bound and somebody is doing a coup de grace on you, or you are flung off of a large building, then that damage goes straight to your wounds. So we have a system that's like that handles that. And then your vitality can increase in points. Like if you want your vitality to increase as you level up in kind of an inflationary or just an increasing way in some way, well, then that's fine. Because then I have a good understanding of, did I actually take damage, or did the character actually take damage, or are they just exhausted and exhausted because of their ability to, because of the defenses or their ability to defend themselves. Then So that seems to be what he's trying to do here. But I'm still confused about using your slots as damage as well. And like I said, you get hit and some kind of item flies off of you or something like that. Why do both? It almost seems like he's trying to go that he would rather go like a wound vitality system. Give the average person 5 wounds. Why not give the average person something like 5 wounds and then start the characters off with like D4 vitality? and then you can increase your vitality as you go, and then drop this idea that you're going to be dropping stuff. And now maybe, when you lose a certain amount, you're exhausted and you can't carry as much or something, that's fine. But rather than have the damage make you drop things, what do you think about this? Maul's Ritter, Maul's Ritter, I love Maul's Ritter. That we've looked at that. There was a morning grind on that, and that was definitely the surprise. That's been the game that I've been most surprised about. Let's see what people are saying here. James says, I'm sure this works very, very well in the mind of the author. I wish we had been given some examples to prove out the rules or the design notes. Maybe we're going to come up with the design notes. Let's see. Death, when your item slots are full of wounds. Sorry, guys, I can't carry a thing. I'm done for. Yeah. The reason why you don't do both, Citizen Snip says, is because attacks always hit. So HP is hit protection, not health points. They don't always hit here, right? He actually I noticed that he had removed the word armor class from Knave First Edition, but in Knave Second Edition, we've brought back in we brought back in armor class. Maul's Ritter was great. Immediately went and bought it after the morning grind that featured it. I want to do actually some more promotion of Maul's Ritter. There needs to be like a standalone video that says, after reading these hundreds of games, the one that stands out, and as far as that I was most surprised about and loved, was this one. Let's see. All right, let's keep going. So that was my thinking yesterday about the wounds and vitality. It just seemed like he wanted to go wounds and vitality. Okay, so checks, we went through all that last time. Traveling, we looked at last time as well. Weather, that was in the preview last time. Here are our D100 random tables, wilderness regions, wilderness structures, wilderness traits, wilderness themes. We looked at that last time. Now here we have delving. So this we didn't have last time. So turns. While dungeon delving, time is tracked in 10-minute segments called turns. Most actions, moving, searching, fighting, resting, take up 1 turn. The dungeon hazard die. At the end of each turn, roll a dungeon hazard die and apply the result. And remember, up here when we were traveling, we are working on 6 4-hour watches, and we are rolling the journey hazard die each time. So here, we're rolling the dungeon hazard die at the end of each turn. That means you're going to be rolling this a lot. You're rolling that journey hazard die a lot. You're rolling the dungeon hazard die a lot too. So the dungeon hazard die, 1d6, 1, encounter. The party has an encounter, usually rolled from the table designed from the dungeon. The GM determines the encounter's reaction, activity, distance from the party, and if they are surprised. Fatigue. Each party takes 1 damage, unless, see, damage, is that direct damage? Or is that your hit points? We were unclear on that. Unless they spend the next turn resting, because it seems like maybe your combat skill would not be good at resisting fatigue. That seems like the call I would make. Other people in the comments said they'd make a different call. But we should know. We should know. The damage may be higher in dungeons with particularly harsh conditions. Ignore while resting. Lit torches burn out. See, up here we had that all of a sudden a perishable item can go. But here, we're not talking about tracking torches necessarily by turn. It's that, or some amount of time. If you roll a 3 after a turn, everybody's lit torch burns out? That just seems weird to me. 4, shift. The dungeon environment changes. If a dungeon doesn't have any obvious shifts, use minor effects like sounds, temperature shifts, wind, falling debris, temperature shifts, wind, falling debris, apparitions, or vermin. 5, sign. The party finds a sign of the next encounter or a clue to a secret. And 6 is no effect. So crawling speed is 120 feet per turn. PCs spend most of the time standing still and listening, testing surfaces, and drawing maps. At this speed, the PCs automatically detect traps and map their environment. Walking speed is 2,400 feet per turn. PCs are surprised by all encounters and spring all traps, but may still map. Running speed is 4,800 feet per turn. PCs are surprised by all encounters, spring all traps, and cannot map their environment. Candles are blown out. Torches reveal general shapes within 40 feet and details within 10 feet. Candles. Candles reveal general shapes within 20 feet and details within 5 feet. They last for 8 hours. So here we have 8 hours. So here, it doesn't say your candles burn out. It specifically says lit torches burn out. So torches up here, but you don't have to sacrifice your candles. They last for 8 hours and 10 candles fill a slot. It doesn't give me, so 10 candles fill a slot. So even here, it doesn't tell me how many slots a candle is. I mean, a torch is. Why doesn't it tell me, like, it needs to tell me that on the equipment, I think. But right here, it says that 10 candles fill a slot. So how many slots is a torch? That seems really important. But no time limit on torches. They just burn until you hit a 3 on your roll. Let's see. Yeah, Joseph Carter says, as the final version is going to be like 90 pages, I think us looking at it is likely to help inform Ben what needs more exploration. I hope so. I hope he... I really appreciate him sending me this document, I should say. It was very kind of him to do so, to have us go over it on the grind here. So I really appreciate him sending this. I hope that it does help out. Codifying the delving into turns is one of my favorite OSR things. I'm glad it's here in Knave 2nd edition. Sable Phoenix says, I think the problem we're seeing with the hits and item slot damage is the HP is like your ability to bob and weave and sort of your endurance. That refills every fight. But once it runs down, you're vulnerable to getting hit. And when you get hit, you will take damage, which is represented by the fact that you're now less physically able to bear the weight and bulk. You're in pain. I think that is where we're going. I think that's where we're going. I think that's the intention. Or, like I said, that you got hit and something actually was destroyed on your body. Yeah, at 43 pages, at 2 pages per page. Yeah, this is the spreads. This is 43 pages of PDF, but this is the spread. So this is two per page. So we're looking at like 86 pages here. That's my understanding of the way this would count. Yes, it is. I said yes, it is. Dinner and a board game. I need to. Sometimes getting all the thumbnails together, I forget to do. But yes, dinner and a board game this Friday again. Yes. So dinner board game this Friday, but no, which is a lot of fun. If you're here and you haven't been to dinner and a board game, we've been playing Hero Quest: The Frozen Horror. So there are 2 Hero Quests on the channel so far. But come by and see it live. So watch those on replay, but come by and see it live on Friday. But then, yeah, I might even start a little bit earlier because I got to get to bed because I got to get up because I got to be gone on Friday. Yeah, I thought if this was half done, yeah, it must be close to being done then. Yes, some slots can have multiple objects. That is definitely in there. I hear you on that too, Zero Theory. I'm glancing at that walking and running speeds. That's a very strange way to word it. I can't relate to 4,800 feet. When I was teaching geography, we used to talk about that quite a bit. Hey, good morning, Patrick. When I was teaching geography, I used to talk about that when talking about designing maps and map scales and things like that, that you want to be sure that you're giving people some type of distance that they cognitively understand. There's certain distances that we interact with quite a bit on daily life that you have some kind of cognitive understanding of, and others that you don't. And that's kind of the case here. Like if you tell me, okay, you've got a walking speed of 2,400 feet per turn. I mean, that's a lot of feet. Like how much dungeon can I explore with that? That's not immediately obvious. Now, in the terms of gaming, it was 40 feet. We were talking about 40 feet last time. No one ever, I wasn't sure why it was 30 feet instead of 30 feet, 40 feet instead of 30 feet. And, but here, yeah, how much dungeon exploration, like especially 4,800 feet. Now, here in the United States, we do 1,000 feet, 2,000 feet. We have a little bit of a cognitive understanding of, because when we are driving cars, we see those. It's pretty common in the United States. I'm not sure where you are, Zero Theory. Now, which would not be the case in Europe at all. But that people will put out signs if you're approaching construction. Construction, 2,000 feet. Construction, 1,000 feet. So I have a little bit of a cognitive understanding of how far 2,000 feet and 1,000 feet are, as far as distance traveled when I'm in a car on the interstate. Not as far as walking for the purposes of dungeon exploration. Lanterns are as candles, but they cannot be blown out. Oh, I had a lantern over here. So a lantern, but as candles, but they cannot be blown out. But still, I don't have a duration. See, I feel like I'm missing stuff here. I feel like I need also lantern duration for like some amount of oil. I still think it's odd that we don't have torch duration, because torches are just over here. So how do lanterns get extinguished? We're not told. Darkness. In total darkness, checks involving movement or coordination have a -10 penalty. PCs will be surprised by all encounters, spring all traps, and cannot map their environment. Searching. A turn spent searching a room reveals any non-obvious features, a statuette in a drawer, a cracked tile, etc., as well as any clues to secrets. In dim light, like candlelight, this takes 2 turns. I do like specifying how long it takes for searching to take place, because if you're supposed to be tracking time, how long does the searches take? And that's something that I've always said would improve Hero Quest, because my barbarian always searches for everything in dinner board game, because that's the most optimal, way to play. And boy, those barbarian quests are tough, so you have to be playing kind of optimally. But there should be some kind of time penalty. Hero Quest in general would be improved with time penalty. A lot of things would be improved with time. So what are shifts? Create a custom list of shifts for your dungeon, or use the ideas below. Hallucinogenic gas, smoke, incense, flammable gas, sleeping gas, poison. 2 is architecture, ceilings, walls, or floors move, dungeons open, doors open or close, devices activate. 3 is flow, lava, water, sand, mud, acid. 4 is magic, animation, transformation, light, darkness, etc. Use the magic tables for inspiration. 5, plants. Plants start to grow, wither or rot, bloom, block or open passages. Creatures, insect swarm, alliances shift, aggression levels changes. 7 is sounds, alarm, clanging, thumping, scraping, grinding, rumbling, clinking. 8 is dungeon weather, scorching, hot, freezing, humid, rain, fog, light wind, something go from scorching to freezing, depending on the dungeon, I guess. Citizen Snip says, simple. A dungeon is 10 foot square. Dungeon is 10 foot square. You can move 480 squares. That's it. Good morning, Nutrimaster. Sable Phoenix says, well, if exploring turns are 10 minutes, that basically means you can walk almost half a mile. 5,280 feet to a mile. That's right. So, but I'm still not exactly sure that helps. Because, okay, that does kind of help. Now, when I go for walks, and man, I have not been walking like I should for the past several months. I got out of the habit after Christmas, and I got to get back to it. I gotta get back to that. But you're right. Okay, 5,280 feet per mile, right? 5,280 divided by 2. So half a mile is 2,640 feet. Now, actually, so it's not quite half a mile. Now, that would have been interesting if you were walking one turn. What exactly? Arguably, that might be better. So how did he get to 240 feet per turn? Okay, but you're right. You're almost walking half a mile. And I do have a pretty good understanding of what it means to walk half a mile, because when I would go out walking on my daily hikes and up and down the road, I would walk in and be very aware of half a mile, 1 mile, 2 mile, and 3 mile walks. So I do have an idea of that. So this is walking speed. You can walk a little bit less than half a mile. I know how far that is if I'm going to go walk down my street half a mile. But it's less clear if I am in a dungeon environment when I'm going to walk through this door and I'm going to backtrack and then I'm going to check over here and I'm going to go this way and I'm going to go around this corner and look down it and travel down here a little and then look this way. I have a much less of a cognitive understanding about exactly how much of a dungeon I can explore in that regard. So I guess it's close enough to a mile that my hero can essentially run a little under a mile in 10 minutes. Yeah, so he used 40. No, a turn. This is a turn. So this is there should be how many? What's the other word? Not turn. Round. Oh no, this is turn. Each turn. I was thinking about rounds and turns. So if a if a round were 10 minutes. Well, I don't know, because there was 40 feet previously, so I don't know. Yeah, we've got our rain dungeon weather. Yeah, Zero Theory says, unless it's a huge dungeon, I think you'd walk the whole thing pretty quickly. But, I mean, you could probably walk it pretty quickly, unless it's a huge dungeon. Yeah, I mean, I guess, but you're probably not walking it very quickly. Right? I mean, I would think you'd be rather cautious about its exploration. Yeah, but you're going to have to be loaded here. That's true, too. And Norcall, Nave is on Kickstarter right now. Oh, which, by the way, I need to make sure I bring up here at the end and send the link out. But if you look up Nave on Kickstarter, Nave is on Kickstarter right now. So signs, when the hazards indicate a sign, first roll an appropriate random encounter and then decide what sign that encounter they find. Use the table below for inspiration. Alternatively, reveal a clue to something hidden nearby. Sign types: creatures, fleeing or injured prey, hunters, worshippers, young offspring, eggs, the creature itself but at the distance, a creature's shadow as it flies overhead, etc. Leavings such as fur, hair, droppings, scales, feathers, blood, shed skin, regurgitated pellets, food scraps, etc. 3, markings: tracks, trails, broken branches, teeth marks, claw marks, symbols, graffiti, signs of struggle. 4 is smells. There was just a message that came up on my computer that says rapid security response ready. I saw that on my iPhone, so I think that's not spam, but that might actually be something that maybe that's my technology problems. Maybe there's actually some kind of major patch that I need to have. We will work on that later. Smells: the creature itself, droppings, layers, residue, sounds, fighting, burrowing, nesting, traveling. 6, structures, layers, burrows, campsites, fires, traps, etc. Oh, we got a random table for dungeon traps. That's not then dungeon trap triggers. Looks like that's not finished yet. Dungeon rooms, things like armory, meditation room, chasm, shrine, solar, dormitory, tunnel, harem, great hall, workshop. So what are our different dungeon traps? Things like maze of darts, open pit, breakaway pit, rolling cylinder, darts, spiders released, everything on fire, rising lava, trapped open pit, unstable beam. Dungeon trap triggers: blow, break, burn, choice, countdown, darkness, drain, eat, insert, kill. Dungeon room details: bas relief, claw marks, flooding, rubble, rock slide, torn clothes, braziers, still water, paintings, altar, incense, bones, coins. Dungeon forms: arena, asylum, building room, catacombs, hotel, laboratory, palace, ship, university. Dungeon status: cannibalism, army invasion, sunken, mutation, dismantled, unknown, risen dead, unfashionable. Room traits, so these tables are not finished. Dungeon tricks: devours, shrivels, rises, floods, incorporeal, triggers. I think we looked at encounters last time. Okay, so thank you. Somebody did this. 240 per minute. That's 24 per 6 seconds, or 40 per 10 seconds. And like I said, he had 40 feet in Knave first edition. So maybe he was talking about 10, maybe he was talking about operating in 10 seconds. So that may be where that comes from. That may be exactly that. Sable Phoenix says, man, with Knave 2 and Shadow Dark, I'll never run out of random generation tables again, especially with things like Frostbitten and Mutilated 2 from the Lamentations of the Flame Princess. Yeah, somebody was talking about in the comments section, I believe on the past one, that somebody else had some system agnostic tables that he was recommending. I forget what they were at the moment. Okay, I think we had talked about, did we see combat last time? So initiative. Okay, so now here we go. Okay, so here we go. All right, thank you, Neutromancer. So this is it. Here we are. Combat is broken into 10-second rounds. Okay. Combat is broken into 10-second rounds. A 10-minute segment is called a turn. Okay, I guess that's standard. 10-minute segments are called turns. Combat is broken into 10-second rounds during which each side has a turn to act. On a single side, each of its creatures in any order may move usually 40 feet. So that's where that comes from. For some reason, he wants combat in 10-second rounds to move 40 feet. So I guess that does mean the math works then, as far as scaling up. I guess that's its base right there. And take one other action, such as attacking, casting a spell, moving again, attempting a maneuver, etc. Decide which side acts first by making a charisma versus charisma check between the side's leaders. Charisma versus charisma check between the side's leaders. So not initiative. An attack is a check using attacker's strength for melee or wisdom for ranged versus the target's armor points. Okay, versus armor points here. On a hit, the attacker deals damage to the target. If an attacker's roll is 21 or higher, the attacker may choose also to succeed at a free maneuver of their choice. When the D20 rolls a 1, if the D20 rolls a 1, the weapon breaks. Oh. I don't think we saw this last time. I think this is new information. Because I don't remember there being armor points, so we need more information on that. On a hit, the attacker deals damage. If the attacker rolls total is 21 or higher, the attacker may also choose to succeed on a maneuver. I remember someplace in here it said there were Dungeon Crawl Classic-like maneuvers. That must be it. But on the other hand, okay, we talked about in Knave, the first edition Knave, how you have weapon degradation, which I was told in a comment on that, on the original, when we went through the original Knave, that the weapon degradation had been deliberately removed from Knave second edition, so you don't have to track that. But that doesn't mean your weapon won't break. So if the roll of a D20, if the D20 rolls a 1, the weapon breaks. That's going to happen quite a bit. I mean, 5%, I mean, you're going to roll a 1. So that's another reason to have a primary weapon. We talked about that when we're looking at the first Knave. You need a primary weapon and a secondary weapon. because if you only have one weapon, you're going to roll a 1. It's going to break immediately. So you got to be prepared for that, which makes your slots even more precious. Now, I suppose then that's why if your armor is on you and taking up slots, and you end up taking damage to your slots, that's how your armor is removed. Sounds like. Zero Theory says 5% chance of losing that sword passed down the family for generations. I mean, that seems brutal. He wants to reward the Nova burst with a simple solution. I'm not sure what that is. Yeah, imagine that the very first time you use it. Stray says, need a golf caddy full of weapons. Yeah, you really do. So one person, one of your hirelings needs to be the weapons caddy. That seems pretty rough. Ranged attacks. Ranged attacks cannot be made while in melee. If the target is in melee, the attack suffers -5 penalty, and that's pretty standard, it seemed here. PC's ammunition should be tracked. Sneak attacks. Melee attacks against unsuspecting foes always hit and deal direct damage. Attacks against truly defenseless foes automatically kill them. So we've got another level. Not only can you go to direct damage, but you can also go to automatic death. Damage. Hits deal damage equal to roll of the weapon's damage die. If an enemy is weak to the type of damage being dealt, it deals direct damage. If they are resistant to it, it deals no damage. If they're resistant to the damage, it deals no damage. If they are weak to that damage, then it deals direct damage to them. Power attacks. Before rolling damage, the PCs can decide to make a melee attack a power attack, which doubles the number of damage dice, but breaks the weapon. Before rolling damage, the PCs can decide to make a melee attack a power attack, which doubles the number of damage dice rolled. Oh, before rolling for damage. I would say that would be rough if you have to make that decision before you even roll to hit. But before rolling damage, PCs can make a melee attack a power attack. Interesting. Pass me my iron number 9 sword. James says, a lot of this just feels not very fun. I'm fairly disappointed still. I don't get the Will Wheaton reference. Two gold caddies of weapons. One for when one for the ones I want to break. Yeah. All right. I need a bunch of different swords because sometimes I'm going to be breaking these things over the other guy's head, and I need to be sent some more. The caddy replies, I believe the 4 steel is appropriate for this monster. Thank you. Maneuvers. Maneuvers include disarming, pushing, stunning, blinding, breaking gear, tripping, pickpocketing, climbing, restraining, or anything else the GM agrees is possible. They can only cause damage indirectly by pushing an enemy off a ledge and are resolved with an appropriate ability check. But if you roll a 21 or higher, you also get one of those free. Because I haven't seen like a critical hit. You've got to choose to make a critical hit to double your damage by breaking your weapon, excuse me. Or if you roll 21 or more, you get a free maneuver. Attack and maneuver checks may gain +5 or -5 modifiers based on positioning, ganging up, weapon types, aiming, visibility, cover, foe size, range, surprise, elevation, etc. Careers do not grant modifiers to combat checks. I was wondering about that because it said that your careers can grant. This is what we're talking about. If the nose plays is still here, that if your career is associated with your check, then you can add +5. And I was like, I'm a knight. Does that mean that my combat checks would get +5? That's no. So my career modifiers do not grant modifiers to combat checks. But once again, everything is in a +5 or a -5 chunk. And I think that is to, as we discussed last time, to mitigate the fact that this is an extremely, it seems to be an extremely random system, because you only have +3 to total stats when you start. So like, for instance, I only had a +1 to dex and a +2 charisma when I started. So I got +0 strength, +0 constitution, +0 int, and +0 wisdom. So for the most part, I'm just, when I have to roll, and then of course, to its credit, it's telling you not to roll that often. But when I roll, I'm generally slinging just random d20s. But even when I'm rolling at dex, I mean, that's just a +1, which is basically nothing. It's overwhelmed by the randomness of the die. And so is a +2. So that means, that's why it's trying to reward players who are doing something better, or doing something deliberate, by giving them a chunk. And a +5 is definitely a chunk. So, aiming, taking cover, foe size, range, surprise, elevation. So if I catch them by surprise and I'm aiming, I get a +10. That's what it's trying to do, it sounds like. Oh, Will Wheaton famously rolled like a million ones on screen. Ah, okay. All right. Well, he and I have that in common. Well, I agree, Citizen Snips. I think a lot of what Knave and other classless games try to capture is the idea of fighting the dungeon. You are supposed to be weak and bad, and it's sort of the Dark Souls ascension to power. But there are multiple ways to capture that. I mean, yeah, I agree. But there are multiple ways to try to do that. Let's see. Zero Theory says, I don't remember. Is there a resource or token or something that players can have to re-roll bad rolls that could help mitigate rolled ones? Mork Borg weapons break on 1, but then you have re-roll omens. Not that I remember. I don't think that was the case. Citizen Snip says, an important line in Moss Ritter I love is, clever plans don't roll dice. Dice kill players. Try not to roll them. Yeah. Generally speaking, increases in randomness hurt players when you're thinking about game design, which is why my game design philosophy is now that you want to reduce, not eliminate. Somebody always says, we'll play something that doesn't roll dice or something like that. And that's what somebody always says in the comments, something like that. But that's why, because increases of randomness hurt players, my general philosophy should be to reduce randomness. Okay. Morale test. When an NPC reaches breaking point during a battle, they must test morale. So morale is 2d6, which is also classically old school. I think we talked about that last time. If they roll over it, they rout or surrender. They may re-roll a failed test once per battle if their leader passes a charisma check. Breaking points include losing half their HP if alone, after their first casualty, after half of their forces are lost, after the leader is killed, or after they are attacked by something they fear. Being on fire, 1d6 direct damage per round. Oh, no. Fire is 1d6 direct damage per round. On fire, 2d6 direct damage per round. Immersed in lava, instant death. Let's make sure we specify that. That does not go to your direct damage. But those two do. Fire does. Drowning, PCs can hold their breath for 30 seconds, 3 rounds for each point of con. After this, they pass out and must pass a con check every round or die. Freezing, 1 direct damage per minute unless the PC passes a con check. Lightning, 3d6 direct damage. Falling, 1d6 direct damage per 10 feet. Direct damage. So I suppose when it just said damage, it did not mean direct damage. It seems to be it gave us the rule that says direct damage is when your combat skill is not important. But then it seems to be telling us damage or direct damage. up to a maximum of 10d6. Pretty classic old school. Thirst each day without drinking applies a -5 penalty to all checks. Well, now we had this question last time. Does my rations include water? Like, what am I supposed to be tracking as a PC? Do I also need to be tracking water? If so, I'm losing even more slots. I don't understand how the slot system in this game is tenable, especially if I'm also supposed to be taking water with me. Now, maybe I could be finding water someplace, but it says each day without drinking water applies a -5 penalty to all checks. After 3 days, pass a con check after every day or die. Assume that PCs are finding water to drink as they travel, unless they are in a very arid environment. So, okay, so that's one of those rules that maybe we're not supposed to use all that often, because that's pretty harsh. So yeah, when I was reading the first half of that, I'm like, okay, so I am supposed to be tracking water. I really need to be tracking water. But I'm supposed to assume that we're finding water to drink as we travel, unless we're traveling through dark sun. If one ration equals 1 day, I would house rule that includes water. I think that's what I would do too. Because unless it's extremely, because like I was saying, what is it important to track? I did open up my Faded Edge rules, and man, it's going to take some effort to get back to. I was like, oh man, I've left this unlooked at for a while. But I think I would too, when we're looking at what is it that I'm supposed to be tracking. If one rations or 1 day, I would not also have the people try to track water. Let's see. In the army, you keep water separate from your actual MRE rations. Water, skin, plus food rations. Besides, keeping water with the food could spoil the food. Yeah, but I mean, we don't necessarily have to say that we actually have them physically like together. But yeah, I mean, I think I would be inclined to do what Zero Theory says. Sleep deprivation. It's just because we're working on slots, because multiple items can take up a slot. So your water skin can be there with your rations, I think. Sleep deprivation. Each day without any sleep adds -5 to all checks. After 2 days without sleep, make a wisdom check every watch or pass out for 3 watches. Intoxication. Make con checks every hour that a PC drinks alcohol. If they fail, they become drunk and add -5 to all checks until the next day. If a creature fails the con check for 2 hours in a row, they pass out for 2 watches, 8 hours. We do have spellcasting here. I don't think we had I think this whole page was missing from the preview. So spellcasting. A spell book takes up a whole item slot and contains a single spell. So again, if you're a magic user and you want to have lots of spells, your whole item slot, your spell book takes up a whole item slot and contains a single spell. They cannot be created or copied by PCs and must be found. We need an extra E here, while exploring dungeons or stolen from other magic users. Casting spells. Casting a spell takes 1 action. Each spell book can only be used once per day, but PCs can use any number of spell books per day equal to their end. So spell casting takes 1 action. Each spell book can only be used once per day, but PCs can use a number of spell books per day equal to their intelligence. So that's the number of spells you can cast per day is equal to your intelligence. My intelligence is 0. Well, that's interesting, because in the original Knave, it was like, hey, players can cast spells. Like, this is classless, so if you get spell books, then you can cast spells. But this specifically says that PCs can use a number of spell books per day equal to their intelligence. And my intelligence is 0. So I'm not a spellcaster. So that's important. That's a major change. Hang on. I'm going to get something else to drink right here. I'm going to keep going, but I need something else to drink here. Joseph says, roll to see if I'm getting drunk. Yes, you're getting drunk. Yes. Okay, I'm back. You know what? I deprived you. I'm so sorry. That was supposed to be a... Oh, it's time for a Yeti hug break. Yeti hug break, Yeti hug break. Everybody go hug yo Yeti and show yo Yeti some love. And you know what? I realized we didn't actually take our breath and sip today because I had so much stuff to go over at the beginning here. So let's breathe and sip. You got your drink? You got your drink? Let's do that right now. Got your drink? If you're new here, 2 deep inhales, complete exhales, and then take a sip of your favorite beverage. So let's go. Let's breathe. And sip. All right. Exactly. Yes. No, this is true. So, let's see. We got lots of stuff here. Citizen Snip says, another reason I love old school is because most of these entire rule sections are a paragraph or 2 long. It's very easy to change the rules to your liking if you want wizards to have more spells. Zero Theory says, so magic users could be literally losing their spells as they take wounds if no party member can carry them on their behalf. Brutal. Yeah, and you're not supposed to be able, like, you can't, like, you have to find these things by exploring dungeons. This is brutal. So if you start losing wounds, your spell books could be leaping off your body and going onto the floor, and you lose them completely. This is extremely brutal. Somebody had pointed out, I believe in another stream, that, well, you could have a hireling carrying a whole bunch more spell books with you. Because in the other Nave, the first edition Nave, at least in that case, well, the wizard isn't wearing a whole lot of armor because the wizard has a bunch of spell books. But then again, just like the fighter is going to need to have a hireling to be carrying a caddy of the hireling caddy of a whole bunch of different weapons, the wizard's going to need to have a hireling to be taking care of all these books for him. So, citizens, yes. Additionally, in one level, you will get to add some points where you want. So by level 2, I could be a spellcaster. Yes. All right. So there are 100 spells included on this page. When the int appears in the description, replace it with any number up to the caster's int. This number counts as the spell's level. An item is an object able to be fitted with one hand, and an object is anything up to human size. Unless otherwise noted, all spells with ongoing effects last 10 minutes and have a range of 10 feet. Chaos spellbooks. The GM can choose to use chaos spellbooks in their campaign, which are the spell books that replace their spell with a random new spell at the first dawn after their previous spell was cast. These spells can be rolled from the spell list or randomly generated. What, you're not even sure what spells you're going to have? If you have a chaos spell book? Saves. When a spell targets an unwilling creature, they make a Dex, Con, or Wisdom save versus the spell's level to reduce the effect GM's call. So these are the 100 level-less spells, such as Astral Prison. An object is frozen in time and space with an invulnerable crystal shell. Or Earthquake. The ground begins shaking violently for int minutes. Structures may be damaged or collapsed. Liquid Air. The air with an int times 10 feet becomes swimmable. Hover. An object hovers frictionless 2 feet above the ground. It can support the weight of up to int humanoids. Gate. Open a gate to a random plane of existence. Gravity Shift. You can change the direction of gravity for yourself only, int times. Phantom Coach. A ghostly coach appears at the end of the spell. Until the end of the spell, it moves unnaturally fast over any terrain, including water. Scry, you can see through the eyes of int creatures you touched earlier today. Smoke form, your body becomes living smoke. Snail Knight, 10 minutes after casting, a knight sitting astride a giant snail rides into view. He is able to answer most questions related to quests and chivalry and may aid you for int days if he finds you worthy. Snail Knight, all right. Summon Idol, a carved stone statue up to 20 feet tall rises from the ground. Oh, you can become Spider-Man. Web. Your wrist can shoot thick webbing. Fire 10-minute fireball. Surely not. Fireball. Oh, I don't see. No, fireball's not here. Love this section. Zero Theory says, I can see the DM tossing the dungeon he had planned over his shoulder when the mage says, I cast gate. Generating new spells. The GM can generate new spells by name, spell names by rolling on the spell formula table. Replace each bracketed word in the formula with a result from the matching table on the following pages to create the spell name. The wording can be adjusted to sound better. The GM and players then work together to determine the spell's effects. So we got spell formula, we got name over here, qualities, effects, elements, forms. So, for example, if a 10 was rolled, the formula would be names, quality, element, form. Replacing the words with random table results might generate Astrowin's iridescent tears circle. The player adjusts this to Arastrin's iridescent circle of tears and suggests that this creates a shimmering circle on the ground that causes anyone within it to begin weeping uncontrollably. The GM agrees and clarifies that the circle is 10 times int feet wide, and the creatures within it must pass a wisdom check each round or add a -5 penalty to all checks that round. Creatures that cannot cry will not be affected. Well, that's interesting. Hey, hang on. I want to generate a spell. Here's some dice. So wait, this says, oh, now wait a minute. Look here. This says D6 spell formula, but it looks like I actually generate down to 12. So maybe this is supposed to be a D12. So if I roll a D12, if I'm trying to generate a spell. Where's my D12? Oh, here it is. Okay, so D12, I just rolled a 2. So I need to roll effect and then form. So effect and then form. So the effect would be 59. The menacing, the spell is the menacing 12. Menacing blast. So come up with what the menacing blast does. Here, I'll roll the D12 again. Okay, 5 is the quality effect form. 5 is the quality effect form. So the quality would be 18. The exquisite 95. Exquisite transmuting 98. Whip. The exquisite transmuting whip. Come up with that spell. Okay. That's pretty neat. Physical afflictions, mental afflictions. Physical afflictions include things like can't remember, fast hair growth, owl eyes, gill slits, smells like fish, grows scales, lots of stuff that Rob would love. Vegetarianism, magical disasters, magical schools. Lots of magical schools. Magical disasters include things like forest appears, grave opens, mirrors speak, no stars, people vanish, water to blood, We did look at divine magic. Divine magic was there last time. But now we have, okay, domains and symbols. Oh, no, we looked at that last time, too. Alchemy, we looked at last time. That was there last time. So potion effects, consistencies, tastes, colors, and ingredients. The ingredients is pretty cool. Exotic spice, coffin nail, bottled fog, animal, physical element, queen bee. Oh, money and gear. Okay, so all costs are in coins. 10C is the wage for a day of unskilled labor. Common items found in any settlement include rope, torch, saw, etc. 5 CP. Uncommon items found in towns or cities, lantern, bear trap, etc. 20 Cs. Rare items found only in cities, sextant, hourglass, astrolabe, etc. 100 C plus. Melee weapons, one-handed weapons, they do D6 damage and they take 1 slot. Two-handed weapons, D8 damage, and they take 2 slots. Ah, okay. This gives us some information about weapons because this was a major problem. So it said you could choose any weapon. So we've got weapons here. I was a former knight. I don't like the term longsword for this, but let's go arming sword. But basically longsword. So let's say that I take a longsword as my primary weapon, but it is so that is D6 damage, and that is 1 slot, right? Because I got that free when I created a character, but I could have Warhammer, Warpick, Flip, whatever. Oh, arming. Look, arming sword is the top. That's what I want. Arming sword. I put arming sword in the character generator I had, arming sword. So I have an arming sword. And then let's also say as a secondary weapon, I think it would make sense that I have a dagger. I guess the dagger also inflicts D6 damage and takes up 1 slot. See, this is a problem because now I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 slots worth of gear, and I only have 10 slots. So immediately I would probably drop the pickaxe, the lantern, and the pet canary, because those things had to do with being a miner. Arguably, you might want to bring along the pickaxe. Well, maybe you want to bring along the lantern, but I got 2 torches. I don't know, but I would drop the pet canary. I probably would not bring my banner. So I've got stuff that I actually need to juggle around. How the slots are split? No, I don't think they're split at all. No, right. I never saw anything like that. I was looking for something like that. Like looking for, oh, the slots, there are your inventory slots, and then there are other slots for like what you actually have equipped. Because I was actually kind of expecting to see something like that because the slots were so valuable. You know, there were so few of them. That was like, well, surely then like the weapon then that you're holding in your hand is not part of your slots. But it appears to be. I've never seen anything like that. Okay, armor pieces. Okay, down here. Let's see here. Melee weapons. Missile weapons. 2 hands, 2 slots. Two hands and 2 slots. D6 damage. Now, plus remember your arrows. It went ahead and started me with 20 arrows. So I probably would not carry the 20 arrows either, because I'm not using a missile weapon. But if you are going to use a missile weapon, you're going to need 3 slots. Because if you're using a bow, you would need 2 hands, 2 slots for the bow, and then another slot for your arrows. Armor pieces. Okay, so this is critical here because we didn't have that. So armor pieces, because it said way up here when we were creating our character that you can get any weapon. Well, you know what? This says any weapon. It does not say any weapon plural. So maybe I'm not allowed to have the dagger. It seems reasonable that I should be able to have the dagger because they break so easily. On the other hand, I got 100 coins. So maybe I'm supposed to buy the dagger with the coins. I bet I am. So you get one weapon. It just says one weapon free and a quiver of 20 arrows, but it also says any armor pieces. And we thought that was strange. Any armor pieces, plural. Okay, so now we're going to get an explanation of that. So actually, how much was the dagger? It tells me that one-handed weapons, they cost 50C? So I am down to 50C. So I guess my dagger also costs 50C? See, I'd look for a little bit more information than this. So I can see the sword, but okay, so the dagger took up half of my money. But I've got to have it because, or maybe you should just buy, maybe in that sense, maybe I should just buy a second arming sword. Probably that's what I should do. If both the dagger, see, I want more info. I feel like I need more info. If both the dagger and the arming sword are both 50C, do D6 damage and take up one slot, then I should have two arming swords. I mean, that would be the thing you would do. I don't suppose it matters. I mean, it seems like it doesn't matter. Maybe that's what it's telling you, that, hey, the dagger would just be flavor that you've got one dagger. So I guess for flavor reasons, I've got an arming sword and a dagger and not two arming swords. But there's not enough difference between these things. If I'm thinking about this from player perspective, clear a room, tidy up valuables, and when you're coming back through to leave, you just make a bunch of trips to drag everything out of the dungeon. Yeah, and hope the mule isn't dead. So, okay, so armor pieces, though. PCs can wear up to 7 pieces. Each uses one slot and grants 1 AP. 7 AP to 18 armor class max. Now, what does that mean? PCs can wear up to 7 pieces. Each uses one slot, okay, and grants 1 AP. Oh, so that means, yeah, okay, so wearing 7 pieces. So that's how you get that. 7 AP or 18 armor class max. Shield is 100C. Helmet is 100C. Gambeson is 300C. Chain shirt is 900C. Breastplate is 1,800C. Arm plate is 900C. And leg plate is 900C. Okay, so this is different from the original Knave because something like full plate armor was taking up a bunch of slots. So this time we're not. We're just saying that every single piece of armor you buy is going to add 1 armor point to you, but I can't afford any. No, wait. I don't have to buy them, though, right? Because this says I get any armor pieces. What is this? PC creation. I get any armor pieces. So I guess it's just as long as I can carry them, I can get them. I guess that's my understanding there. I don't have to buy them at character creation. So if I've got... So if I wanted to spend... If I wanted a shield, a helmet... See, why would I get a chain shirt over a breastplate? The chain shirt costs 900C and breastplate costs 1,800C. Maybe I put them both together. Maybe I can wear both of them at the same time. I mean, because that was done historically. So I'm saying each uses one slot and grants 1 AP. So if I wanted a shield, a helmet. Well, and can I put the gambeson under the chain shirt then? If I want the shield, the helmet, a gambeson, and over that I'm putting the chain shirt, and then I'm putting a breastplate on. That would take 5 slots. I could have that. So that sounds like what I could have. If I were a former knight, that would be my understanding. So I'm going to take shield. I'm going to take helmet. So I'm going to be the heavily armed guy. But that's 1 slot. That's 1 slot for helmet. That's 1 slot for a gambeson worn under the mail. I'm going to wear the mail shirt for 1, and then I'm going to wear the breastplate on top of that. I mean, is that your understanding? Is that how you would run this? Let me know. But that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that would give me AP 5, which seems good for a knight. But on the other hand, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 5 slots. And I've got to seriously adjust what I'm carrying, because that's 5, 6, 7 slots just in armor. I'm not carrying my arrows right now. I'm going to take my rations, my rope, and torches. The lady's favorite signet ring, we said probably maybe don't take up anything. Maybe I leave my banner at home, and I leave my pet canary at home. So that would be, depending on if I have to use a slot for, do I have to use a slot for a fractional number of coins? Or is it only once I get to 500 coins that it takes up a slot? These are the kinds of questions that I have. Let's say that I've only got 50 coins now. I'm about to spend some more. I'm about to buy a mule. So maybe I don't have to spend a slot for coins. That would be 1, 2, 3, 4 if 2 torches can take up 1 slot. 5, 10, 12. Yeah, and I'm still overburdened. Zero Theory says, and if you're using shield plus weapons, somebody else must be carrying the light source. Yes, that's it. That's great. Yeah. If I'm the heavily armored guy, somebody else needs to not be that and carrying the light source. Clearing out the dungeon isn't something you can or ever should achieve. So that was your interpretation as well. No, I don't think it does. No. Yeah, it sounds like you better stack con if you want to be able to carry enough to do that. Yeah, con is very important here. Yeah, maybe that's what's going on. I'm just not good enough to wear all this stuff. Just looking at what's possible. See, that's how I would have done it too, is say that, yeah, you need to use a slot for coins and it can hold up to 500 coins. Yeah, that's how I would have done it. Let's see here. So over here, see, now we get to animals. Poultry, dogs, pigs, goats, etc., cows, falcons. Okay, which is different from transport. It's like, those are not the animals that I'd want to have. But okay, they have that under transport up here. Clothing sets, poor. Do I need to buy a clothing set or do I get a clothing set free? Because I am just about out of money. Transport, mule, riding horse, war horse, cart, carriage, wagon, sloop. But how many slots do those hold? I mean, these are the kinds of questions that I've got right now. So I've got 50C left. So I think based on the slot situation, I would definitely buy a mule. And I would start stacking this stuff up on a mule because I need to be able to go further than just one day out and one day back in. And I'm going to need to be able to carry treasure back. But how much does a mule carry? How much does a riding horse carry? How much does a war horse carry? How much can I put in the cart or the wagon? It seems like this game is geared toward that being such an incredibly big part of this game, but then it's not giving me that information. Is that the way that it seems to you? Cost of living. Use the following table when determining a PC's lifestyle between adventures. A social level's monthly cost of living is also a good guideline for bribes and gifts for someone of that level. We also have adventuring items. The rum, the python, the pitchfork, the bottle. Mule is on there. Lodestone. Miscellaneous items, belt, pen, pipes, rod, scarf, fang, hammer. List of weapons, list of armor pieces. So apparently we're going to get a lot more different armor pieces here. Books on alchemy, blackmail, fashion, genealogy, hagiography, the study of saints, lost empires, siegecraft, treasure, item traits, altered, compact, disguised, embellished, exotic, masterwork, treasure items, things like perfume, royal robe, signet ring, telescope. Let's see. James says, regarding coins, I'd assign slots to pouch sizes, not the gold itself. Hard to imagine a loose grab of coinage. Mule has 4 legs and carry 4 times as much as a normal man. Yeah, see, that I almost brought up the term Akaton. Because I used to say, I mean, for a long time, I would say that you wore gambeson underneath. I mean, the terminology on that's not particularly clear, but an Akaton could go beneath it. And sometimes, like a lot of places will say that if you're buying the male armor, that includes the correct amount of padding, the Akaton beneath it and stuff. But at least according to how that was giving it, I think I would, just say that gambeson and Akatons are close to the same thing. You can wear, you can wear one independently, or you put it underneath the mail. Clothing traits. Buildings. So this kind of gets to the domain level stuff. Running a business, renting, buying buildings. This was in the first Knave. Lots of different types of stuff with building construction. How much buildings costs. Now, we do also have warfare. So this is interesting. Units. Each of the following units cost 100C per month and have the same fighting power. Scale the cost, power, and unit size proportionally. 1 master battle wizard, 3 battle wizards, 25 elite cavalry, 50 veteran cavalry, 100 trained cavalry, 200 untrained cavalry, 50 elite foot soldiers or archers, 100 veteran foot soldiers or archers, 200 trained foot soldiers or archers, 400 untrained foot soldiers or archers. Tally the fighting force. Sum the fighting power of each side's units. At the GM's discretion, improve or reduce a side's fighting power based on its morale and positioning. Each side's leader may make a charisma check to try and improve their side's power by 50%. This is significantly less detailed than the rules cyclopedia or GURPS Mass Combat, right? So sum the fighting power of each side's units. Move or reduce the fighting power of each morale and positioning. Charisma check to try to increase the fighting power by 50. Man, that's a lot. If they fail, oh God, if they fail, they reduce it by 50%. The important thing is not the exact numbers, but how strong each side is relative to each other. Determine how much stronger the strong side is than the weaker side. This provides the bonus the stronger side will use during the upcoming battle. Up to 50% stronger, +2, more than 4 times stronger, +10. Battle checks. The stronger side makes 3 checks using the above bonus, aiming to get 11 or better. The stronger side makes 3 checks using the above bonus, aiming to get 11 or better. Each success allows the stronger side to secretly pick 1 result from the list below, and each failure allows the weaker side to secretly pick 1 result. The same results can be picked multiple times. Once the picks have been made, they are all revealed and resolved. Capture an enemy NPC is captured. Loot an enemy item is looted. Slay 10% of the enemy army. Rescue, cancel a capture result. Guard, cancel loot result. Shield, cancel a slay result. The side that picks the most results, no matter how they are resolved, is the battle's winner. The other side must withdraw from the field. Inn names, district names, street features, buildings, rooms, room details, faction traits. We have some rules for downtime here. I really like this mass combat system. Is basically liar's dice. Well, see, then let's get the rule book needs to adjudicate that. Zero Theory says that hire a master battle wizard just to quiz him on how he carries all of his spells. Downtime. All right. Carousing. Carousing takes up a whole night and costs a PC D10 times 50 coins in villages, D10 times 100 in towns, D10 times 200 in cities. It also grants the PC XP equal to the amount spent. In the morning, succeed at a con check or roll a mishap. You make a public fool of yourself. You have an ugly, prominent tattoo. You've made an enemy. You have a duel scheduled for the next dawn. So carousing basically lets you convert gold into experience, but you have to roll a con check or get a mishap. Gambling. The player wages some money up to house limit and the DM rolls a d6. The player then makes a choice to either bow out and lose half of their wager or try to roll a d6 higher than the DM's roll. If they roll and succeed, they win double their wager. If they fail, they lose everything they wagered. Career training, career types. So here are hirelings. This is really important, I would guess. Hirelings assist with unskilled dungeon tasks like carrying torches or hauling treasure. They will not do dangerous tasks like fighting or disabling tracks and will hang back from the rest of the party. D10 hirelings are available in a village, 3d10 in a town, 10d10 in a city, re-rolled every month. Wage is 300 C per month, level 0, hit points 1, AP 1. They have to see, it tells you how many slots they've got. So maybe you're not supposed to be using mules. Maybe you're supposed to be using hirelings, torchbearers, porters, etc. So they've got another 10 slots for you for 300 C a month. You got to pack a lot of adventure into that month. So mercenaries won't go into dungeons, but will otherwise fight for you. They are generally hired in security as wilderness exploration soldiers. D6 mercenaries in a town and so forth, 600 per month, level 1. They've got D6 hit points. They have AP 4, item slots 10, and morale 8. Experts. If you need some type of expert skill, companions are generated like a PC, but they do not make morale checks, will fight to the death for their employer if required. They get half the share of treasure and XP, level 1, HP, D6 per level, item slots 10, morale NA. Name generation tables, personality traits. That was a big part of the original Nave. Wait, now here we've got a profession table again. I guess that's for NPCs. Hobbies, assets, secrets, liabilities, secrets, relationships, mannerisms, NPC or faction goals, mission roles, mission rewards. And then we get to the bestiary, which we looked at that last time. Oh, animals, scent, sounds tables. Yeah, lots of tables. Monster behavior, monster weaknesses. Oh, we don't have the designer's commentary. We'll have to check that out when the game eventually comes out, because I'm interested to know some of these design choices here. What do you think? Hirelings, mules. What's really the difference? The patron, Nicholas says, the patron draft documents included slots for Beasts of Burden. Not sure if that's been changed or just omitted from that draft. Well, we will see, I suppose. I'd be making ample checks of these morale checks. Hirelings aren't risking their lives for day labor wages. Yeah, and Zero Theory says, or no, James says, and if hirelings are schlepping the gold and tending the horses, who's to say they don't just bolt the second you emerge from a delve? Yeah, you're having to pay the hirelings. You buy the mule and it just stays with you. The mule was only 30C. How much can that carry? Whereas the hireling was what, 300 a month? Citizen Snip says, what do I think? I bought the premium edition. I'm very excited for the game. It looks like everything I want from Mal's Ritter mixed in with old school essentials, and I am here for it. Let me bring up over here. Hang on. Of course, I think everybody here already knows this. But it is on Kickstarter, so we should bring up the Kickstarter here. Because, again, I really appreciate Ben sending this to me. He didn't have to do that. But so Nave Kickstarter, I'll put that in the comments. Nave Kickstarter. He's raised $455,000 from 7,417 people. So yeah, lots of people still in on this. I mean, they were in it 2 days ago. That is huge. I mean, he's experiencing great success with this. So at the moment, I'm in on the standard physical edition. So I went in for that. I was looking down here, the early reviews. Somehow Ben has improved upon the original Knave in ways that I couldn't have anticipated. I'm blown away, says Professor Dungeon Master. Baron de Rope, Baron de Rop. I was watching him yesterday. The most varied and useful smorgasbord of random tables I have ever used. Dave Thalmavor says, anytime a person who has analyzed hundreds or maybe thousands of RPGs and supplements with specific genre and supplements within a specific genre decides to create something within that genre, you sit up and pay attention. It's no surprise that Knave 2E delivers the proverbial goods. Geek gamers say solo RPGers search for an adaptable rule set are in the right place. Nimble and versatile, Knave 2E places storytelling front and center. Soloists looking for a home-based rule set, you just found it. Luca Regic, author of Ultraviolet, Grasslands, and the Black City. The Ultralight or Knave king of the OSR. If you want a fast game for dungeon crawling through basically every old school module ever written, this is it. And so I was watching everybody else's, or these 3 embedded videos yesterday to see what other people were saying about it. I'm still a little bit, I still have questions. So I'm a little bit underwhelmed. I have to admit, I'm a little bit underwhelmed with this. Joseph is all in. Premium all in. I was hoping that I would, I'm hoping that I was hoping that I would see a little bit more, but at the moment I'm still in. I'm still in for the standard physical, and we will see. All right. Well, we have gone on long enough today, but I think that's probably plenty for today. So I don't even know what day this is. This is Tuesday. So tonight, yeah, I've got a meeting with Brianna, and then I got to get together the thumbnail for tonight. We will be talking about Star Trek 1, the motion picture tonight with Doug. So I got to get ready for that as well. So lots of stuff going on here. I don't think there were single player rules. I think it was just telling you to use these rules for single player. All right. So I will see everybody later. Thank you so much for being with me today. And again, thank you very much to Ben for sending this over to me so we could go through through these. And it did answer some of the questions that we had. So I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Everybody, check out Knave. I will see you again here tonight for our story analysis of Star Trek 1, the motion picture. Be creative, be productive, and grind on. Please do like the stream, Sable Phoenix says. Yes, please do.